Hey ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here from Digital Dojos, and today we're going to be taking a look and unboxing the Oura Ring Gen 4 specifically. So if you're unfamiliar with the Oura Ring, I know there's a big controversy about the pronunciation. It is a smart device, wearable, smart ring in particular, that is essentially a health tracker. It can track things like your sleep, your heart rate, kind of your daily activity for the most part, to kind of give you insights into things like your steps and your general kind of readiness for a day in terms of like physical activity, and it can help you with all sorts of stuff. And I say this because currently I'm wearing the Oura Ring Gen 2, so I've had this for a couple of years now. Funny enough, this was a gift a couple years back, and then this that I got today was also a gift for my 30th birthday here. So what better way to enter my 30s than, making sure that I'm tracking and keeping accountable of my health. The Oura Rings are very popular in the world of like wearables, with things like, the Apple smartwatch and different bands like the Whoop bands, because it's something that you can quite easily wear, and it's more kind of inconspicuous. It's not in the way as something would be like a watch on your wrist. And at least for me personally, while I have something like an Apple Watch Ultra and other smartwatches, this is much easier for me to kind of, keep on a daily basis. It's something I can sleep more comfortably with versus like a watch on my wrist. And as somebody, truthfully, who just enjoys wearing analog watches and rotating those out on a day-to-day basis, this is something that stays on me constantly and is easy to, track my day-to-day habits with it. Now, again, smart rings may not be for everybody, and in that capacity, it's something that you want to make sure from a wearable perspective you're going to integrate into your everyday life. Form factor at the end of the day is important in terms of your wearables, to make sure that you get something that is actually going to integrate, into your day-to-day habits. And you can see here, opening it up, super simple packaging here. You can see here it says, "Hey, hello from Finland." I had no idea they were actually from or based out of Finland. And you have the ring here on its new charging base. I got the size 10 here in gold, so I did switch it up this time around in terms of the look and overall feel of the ring here. But coming up from Gen 2, this Gen 4 is going to be a pretty decent upgrade, and some things about it that will change at least the sizing perspective. You can see this is the charging base stand, and it is still USB-C. So I'm going to set that aside. And then in here you have just your USB-C cable, as well as some stuff you need to know as far as like brochures go. So this is just kind of like your setup guide and whatnot, and how to get it all set up, which we'll take a look at here in a second. Other than that, the packaging is very simple. Not really any accessories outside of that in itself. The product itself is an accessory, so there you have it. We picked this up at Best Buy. It is recommended you try on, or at least get a feel for your size, because your ring size may be different. For example, the ring I'm wearing currently, this is a size 8 compared to the size 10 that I got here. And I think at the time when I got this, I had tried the different sizers. There's a couple things you always want to be aware of. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Oura does recommend ideally wearing it on either of these two fingers, or your middle finger or your pointer finger. However, you can wear it technically on any finger. It's just, I believe they say more ideal in terms of the sensors for one of these two fingers. So I've been wearing one typically on my ring finger. I did get sized this time around so that it fits my middle finger more appropriately, and I'll try seeing how I like that. The other thing that affects, things like ring sizing, at least if you've ever worn any sort of ring, typically fingers can swell and things of that nature, whether it's your diet, weather, what have you. So that's always something to account for. You'll notice here too, at least between the Gen 2 and the Gen 4, one of the big updates is the new circular design, the recessed sensors. So all of the sensors are actually built into the actual ring itself. So you can kind of see some of the sensors in there, so that you don't have these kind of like, you can see here, these little dimples within the ring. And that kind of helps, I think, if you get like a certain size, that kind of helps, obviously, help it stay on. And it could be, depending on how you get yours sized, affect what your ring size may be, versus something like the Gen 4, which is a completely different sort of inside and shape there with the sensor. So just, keep in mind, if you go into any popular store right now, like a Target or a Best Buy, you can get a sizing kit. Usually they'll have them there available, or they'll have a display case where you can actually try multiple ring sizes to see which one will fit you. And I can see here that this middle finger, it's going to fit me perfectly, at least if I wear it through there. So there's that. Now, while this isn't a full-on review, I do want to kind of mention, like somebody for myself who's coming from the Gen 2 to the Gen 4, I mostly know what I'm getting with this because I've worn this pretty consecutively, at least the first year I got it, and somewhat throughout last year. What you're getting a lot, at least from the Gen 4 upgrade, is the notable things that you would get in like newer tech. So you're getting longer battery life, you're getting improved sensors, and you're getting some new sensors. The Gen 4 is able to track your heart rate, I believe 24/7, so you can kind of see kind of how your heart activity and things like your BPM and stuff like that over time. Improved sensors, like I said, for like sleep and tracking. It does also blood oxygen tracking. I think that is unique, if I'm not mistaken, to the Gen 4. And a whole other array of stuff, while also being a little bit more durable. Like I said, built-in sensors. You can get this in more improved materials. I believe it comes in titanium, if I'm not mistaken, for a more durable build, if that's something that you're concerned about, especially depending on like what you do on a day-to-day basis, if you're going to be wearing something like this. And yeah, just improved analytics across the application. The cool thing about stuff like this, you can get a lot of useful stuff if you know what a lot of these like metrics might be kind of giving you an idea of when it comes to your health and overall fitness and your ability to train and work out and so on and so forth. But you can also use a lot of these metrics also to predict things like when you might be getting sick or your body temperature is kind of changing rapidly and fluctuating. And there's a bunch of other things you can do within the app. Truthfully, I originally got this because I really wanted to track sleep more consistently. And it's just an added bonus that it had all the other sensors and stuff built into it. Now, before I dive into the app and setup here, I do want to mention one thing I am not as much looking forward to, at least with this one, is I came from the Gen 2 where this wasn't not part of the whole subscription model, whereas this Gen 4 does have a subscription model. So to unlock specific features, you will have to pay for that subscription model. I don't know what it costs. I forget what specific features are locked behind it, so let's find out together. Okay, so like I mentioned, I currently have the Oura app, so I want to see how easy setup is going to be for, somebody who already has the application. Is it as simple as, because I imagine I don't necessarily need to get a new one necessarily, or sorry, get another app. I'm just going to try and navigate this myself. I imagine I can just go into my settings and like add another ring, but I am actually curious how it's going to handle that, like if you own multiple rings and how that all works out here. So it looks like we do need to set up this on the charger. That's why I was curious. I was wondering if this comes charged or things like that. Obviously, there's no screen on the smart ring, and that's both a pro and con. Obviously, you don't get like the access to your data where you can initially see like what's your current heart rate or steps and things like that from a glance, because you would have to go into the app. But that's also the advantage of a smart ring in that you don't have a screen or LCD screen on the actual device, which therein lets you save a lot of battery life, in my opinion. So it's plugged in, does detect the ring here, and it connects over Bluetooth essentially to your smart device. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it here. So that's another thing worth mentioning, at least from the tech perspective. We're going to go ahead and update the ring firmware here while we wait. This is a Bluetooth device, meaning it relies on a connection to a host device to send all that data and house it. This is not a standalone device. I imagine a lot of the stuff needs to be paired to something, obviously, to see your own data. Whereas I am, again, in the smart world out there, smart watch or wearable worlds, I imagine there are like standalone devices that maybe don't need an app and can solely function just on the device or hardware itself. But nowadays, especially with all the cloud features and conveniences, you usually have to tie it to something. And the Ring here is no exception. Has to be paired to your phone, Android or iOS. And one thing I actually want to note about these Oura Rings is because I actually had a colleague who also recently got one of these. If you have like a HSA or a health savings account through your employer or job, you can actually use it to apply towards getting a device like this, or even, I believe, actually towards the subscription itself. So just worth mentioning. Okay, it says, let's find your best signal. Smart sensing adapts to your unique physiology to find the best signal for continuous and accurate data. So I imagine it's going to want us to try on the ring here. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to pull the ring off the charger here. And it says here, for comfort and accuracy, wear your ring with the dimple of the sensors on the palm side of your finger. So ideally, it means this little dimple right there facing inwards. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got gold here just to kind of switch it up, just because I tend to wear gold accessories anyway, so it kind of goes with my everyday wear. All right, it is syncing to me here. Again, we're going to try this on my middle finger. I'm not traditionally used to wearing rings on my middle finger, but we're going to see how it goes. All right, it says the ring is now in sync. Wave hello to test the motion sensor, which I believe is new, at least did not necessarily have like that. And you can see here, it is detecting it. Start the journey. And that's a good thing. If you have something like this, you will be able to just port everything over. I can track more stuff now. I do now have the heart rate sensor here at the very top right. Looks like we're at 62 beats per minute right now. I can update my Apple Health data. Since I'm on iOS here, it imports all my data into Apple's Health app, which I use to track everything from all my other devices. And now I have things like your VO2 Max, which you can integrate into the Oura. I'm going to go ahead and allow all that data here. I allowed it, but the access isn't granting, at least right now, so we'll check on that later. But yeah, now I have data like the heart rate data, which is interesting and interesting to see, especially because you can kind of see throughout a day how that tracks. You can see how things like stress or your sleeping levels, how that affects in the average range you are throughout certain times of the day. So if you're somebody who kind of likes like the self, quantified self and all these data, you can get that. It's also worth noting for women. So like specifically for the female gender, you can track things like your health cycle. So it can kind of give you predictions around, periods and things of that nature. I'm going to go, I'm not interested. That's personally for me, obviously. But with that, you can see a bunch of other things. And you can actually tag like specific activities. I'll be honest, I don't do this or did not do this with my previous one. So you can kind of say like specific things that you may have done, specific workouts or types to kind of keep better logs of that. But yeah, all of that otherwise integrates very easily here. I can go into my vitals. I can see my readiness, my previous sleep scores based on, the day, so I can go back into previous day's data and so on and so forth, depending on how often you wear the ring. Obviously, things like this, they are, as if I can go back properly, are as useful as, the basis in which you wear it, right? Because the more data, the better, and the more consistently you wear things like this, the better and bigger picture you're going to get of things like your overall health. And there's a lot of stuff built into this app, and you can really kind of go into the weeds and get your reports. I will say, obviously, I'm recording this around January, New Year's. A lot of people set health resolutions and things like that. And if you're looking for something to track things that isn't an Apple Watch, because I get it, for most people, if you have an Apple Watch, that's probably what you're going to use to track a lot of your data, because if you wear that on a consistent basis, it's the equivalent. Some people wear multiple sensors and things of that nature because certain things track certain things better. There's a lot of channels that kind of compare, like which are the better sensors if you want to kind of get an idea. But for me personally, what works best for me as somebody who rotates in real like, physical analog watches and digital watches, the ring has always been the best kind of form factor for me versus wearing like a Whoop band or an extra add-on or wearable. So again, this by no means is a full-on review of the Gen 4, but this is just some initial thoughts, kind of setting it up out of the box. Next up, what I want to see here is actually the whole subscription fee, because I do recall that there's definitely something that you can get here as far as subscription goes, but it didn't prompt me for anything, which was interesting. I felt like it might have, coming from a Ring 2, prompted me about what that gets me or kind of trying to upsell me. So let's see if I can kind of mess around here. Okay, so I did find it in the app here. It's a little bit buried, but what it looks like is I am on the membership, but I'm on a trial, and I'm assuming that's just because I bought, obviously, the device today. You can see it put me on a 1-month trial from today to next month. Interesting, though, is at least, unless I missed it, I saw nothing regarding that. So That's like really interesting to me that it would just automatically, not that it necessarily would automatically opt me in through the trial period. Like I can kind of get that, but it didn't even mention anything about like, hey, like you're going to be on this for a month and then it expires. It looks like as far as membership, you get all your stats, so your typical stuff, sleep, readiness, activity scores, etc., which I was already getting on my previous ring here. Latest and greatest updates. I mean, that's essentially just putting the updates, I guess, behind a paywall. And then insights about things that get better over time. Sorry. So it says, as Ura gets to know your body better over time, you'll receive even more accurate insights reflecting your health journey. And as a member, you'll get the best deals first, including promotions and referral bonuses. I gotta be honest, I don't truthfully see what this gives you. That's like truthfully like a membership based thing that would interest me. And what I mean by that, because you got to understand, I'm coming off of the perspective of somebody who's owned an Oura Ring, at least previous generations, for the last couple years. If there was like features that this did, at least from a sensor perspective, like the heart rate sensor, for example, that prompted me to upgrade in the first place and better battery life, I would think that, at least from the software side of things, the subscription or the membership would be things that actually, offer a different experience than the one I had here. I didn't have the heart rate sensor on the Gen 2. So I didn't have that feature anyway. That's the reason I'm buying the new hardware. But the reason I would pay the subscription fee would be something that, again, gives me some sort of benefit. Promotions and deals, that to me isn't enough just to be a member, because ideally I'm not buying other rings necessarily. I'm buying them as gifts for other people. It's not an ecosystem where it's like there's other accessories, at least to my knowledge. I don't think there are more things you would buy for this, if you get what I'm saying. So that's not enough. I could see a reality where it gives you the base features, right? The ability to see your sleep score and certain metrics. And then if it took that a step further, and maybe that's what Insights is, maybe the membership just doesn't do a good job of like simplifying what you actually get. Because if it could say that, yes, based on this membership, if you have it, it takes all the data that you get for free or maybe without the membership, and then it, summarizes X, Y, or Z. It tells you, I don't know, some sort of data that might be useful in your day-to-day life and your recovery and your workouts and things of that nature. So I wanted to be fair here and give like an actual accurate insight into the membership, since I myself, it's like the first time I'm looking into this. It is about, like, I think it's $6 a month, which is or isn't absurd depending on how you look at things. So there's a subscription that you can get monthly. You can pay annually. I think it's like $70 all in, and give you a little bit of a discount. This gives you deeper insights to accurate data and information of your body. For new members, your first month comes with a ring purchase. Something like this, like 1 month, I feel like at the price of the ring and the hardware, would have been nice to get 2 to 3 months. Oura membership and Oura Ring work hand in hand. The other thing about this I will say is, like, I didn't get any promo offers as somebody who came from a previous generation ring. I will say, I think when the new generations came out, it offered me like a discount towards buying a new one, but I feel like it should know that if I had a previous ring and I'm upgrading, it would be nice, I guess I should say, if you got some sort of loyalty, towards your membership, because, that's an easy, discount for them. With an active membership, you can track numerous biometrics and receive personalized insights. So again, it's nice if you do have that. Oura membership only applies to Gen 3 and newer, because the Gen 4 just more recently came out. What's included in the membership here, it has it here. So you have all this stuff that you get. Oura Labs, cardio capacity, so that's the VO2 max. A lot of people like to track advanced temperature monitoring. So that's what I'm saying. Stuff like this, whoops, sorry, as my mic spins out there. Some of the stuff I already had on my previous ring. I had access to Oura Labs. I had access to, for the most part, sleep analysis. There's probably some stuff in here that, I didn't have, but that's because I probably didn't have the sensor to track some of that stuff on this one. Integration with third-party apps and things like that. Or membership, here's the price breakdown based on country. What I'm curious, though, is like, what happens if you don't have the membership is actually what I am interested in here. Like, is it essentially moot, or do you just not get all that? Can I use my, here we go. So Oura membership unlocks the full potential of the app, allowing you to access details. So without a membership, the ring can still be used with limited functionality. Okay, so it's not a brick, essentially. You'll be able to see your 3 daily scores, which are like the readiness, sleep score, and so on. But I'm guessing from the Ura Ring, you get more detailed metrics. And I will say you can click into these things and see stuff in here that maybe I am missing, like in terms of what I had in my previous versus this one. So at least one, yes, you can use it, say, on subscription, which is good to see. It's just not, a nice little ring on your finger. It looks like it does just give you more insights, deeper tracking and stuff like that, which if you're buying this and paying the price tag of the, $300 to $400+ anyway, it's because you want all of those insights and metrics. I know not everybody is a fan of like subscription as a model, and that's where a lot of this products and software as a service and all these things are at nowadays. And that's unfortunate. It's a reality that we kind of live in. But if you're somebody who obviously is very much into the quantified self, these metrics, you want to know more about your health and data, and some people can't put a price on that, or you can, like $5.99 a month. But you can get all of that insights here. I'm going to be testing this out more. I'm going to obviously want to wear this more consistently, see how it tracks metrics, see the actual data and the insights and trends and all that stuff it talks about, gives me. So I will extend my membership for at least the first couple months, and then do a full review a couple months down the line later this year. So that's my teardown unboxing and look at the newest Oura Gen 4 ring as a Gen 2 owner, and just kind of giving my initial insights out of the box. Looking forward to gathering more data, seeing more about my health and body, and reporting back to you whether or not this is worth it. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.